Please advise if this is Class E. I don't know. I can give you an opinion. Here's an address. Thank you very much. So this is in Manchester. Now, sometimes it's not very obvious what they are. I can see this is a warehouse-looking building. Immediate comment, railway behind. So just be conscious of that. When they've got a railway behind, one of the restrictions we've got is noise ingress, so we've got to be thinking about that. I expect Nimbus will tell us it does. Workshop Class E. Don't necessarily believe Nimbus at this moment in time. Workshop, offices and premises. This is going to be a detective work process, unless there's any planning history, which I'm expecting not, of what the actual use is, what's gone on in there. So in a minute, I'm going to drop down to Google Maps, Street View, and have a look and see what's been happening in there. So I don't see any planning history. I'm just looking at it from the image you sent, outside image. Let's look at some internal images. I mean, it's all empty, so I can't see what's gone on in there. Okay, but it's quite an old industrial building. So what I'm going to do, again, Street View comes into its own here. What's been happening at this building? So Street View for 2025. It's got a load of recovery vehicles parked in there. So it looks like it's being used probably temporarily or illegally for parking of like a breakdown company. They seem to be parking their vehicles in there. If I go back, okay, 2023, breakdown company there, but there is actually a sign on the outside of a company, which I'm going to look up. I'm not going to mention the company, but you can do this, okay? Go to Google Maps, go to Street View, look up the name of the company and see, forgot it now, what was it? It was, yeah, Q, okay? You can see what they do. And that's what you'd have to have a look at. Now, it looks like, okay, so it's a company that's closed. Have they got a website? Probably not anymore. What's their business? Okay, so they basically, yeah, it could be a BA. So the company that they're in there were a wholesale trade company of motor vehicle parts and accessories. Now, if they were a trade company and they're trading those parts out of there, and obviously they've got an office to do that, they might have had a trade counter. Yeah, okay, retail and trade prices. There's a front door, looks like that was probably the trade counter. In which case, this could be a BA, like storage and distribution building. So it's not Class E, even though Nimbus suggests it is. And it goes right back to 2009, and that same company's in there. If you could prove that they were manufacturing their products in there, then you'd have a chance of confirming that it's Class E. But I suspect not. My gut feeling tells me that this is a BH storage and distribution building. Now, your job, the problem is, and I know, you know, with some people quite new on the program, that this is the challenge we're always going to find, and we talked about it on certainly on the Saturday on Fast Track when we did those live deals and throughout, is that there's no one place that you can go to find the use class. You know, there's not like a use class register in this country that I can go and have a look at this building in Manchester and go, that's what it is. We have to interpret it either from planning history, and there will be some planning history somewhere, but is it accessible? You know, is it electronic? Can you find it? Has it been destroyed? Has it been lost? You know, I mean, this could be, you know, back in the 60s, who knows? 50s, who knows? So without that planning history, historic history, then it's a matter of determination. And we're going to have to go on what we know the building's been used for, any rating information on the site. And as I said, you know, that it's not on itself evidence, but it helps. And it says workshop, office and premises. Well, workshop, such an ambiguous term. You know, is it a workshop? Is work going on in there in terms of manufacturing, or is it just work in terms of packing and distribution? And there's no certainty. So, there, the offices are a relatively small part of the overall building. So we can't actually say that it's an office, and so the majority of this building is a warehouse. And looking at what that company does, which is what the planners will do, is probably going to say it's storage and distribution. Now, how do you get over that? Well, you just got to try and build a case. You know, planning consultants, and this is what they're good at, and they give you a steer on what evidence. Has it got any flooding near it? Yeah, okay, you have got some surface water flooding, so just be aware of that as well, because that is, just looking at everything else, I think that's really it. So that's just a slight concern at the front. Flooding at the front, railway at the back. My view is you're probably going to struggle. From what I've looked at initially of what that company done, I suspect you might struggle. You know, again, if you've got a relationship with a planning consultant, you run it past them, they'll take a view. You might be able to look up. I mean, you can see it on Google Maps. Just maybe do a bit more delving. See if you can find an old website for that company. See what they did. If you can prove that they manufactured it, you might find photographs somewhere. You know, the web's amazing. You can find some photographs maybe of inside that building. If you could prove that you can find some pictures of machinery and stuff like that, that could help. That could help. The only other way you can do it is potentially, okay, there's a long shot here, is get a lawful development certificate. So what you could say to the vendor, look, really interested, but I'm a bit worried that it might be a B8 storage and distribution, you know, and then there's residential next to it, so you wouldn't get B2 use. I want to confirm that it's light industrial, Class E. And it might be that because you say, I want to put a little manufacturing business in there. So what you might be able to do is get a lawful development certificate, and you might have to think about how this is done, but the vendor to do a lawful development certificate for it to be used as a Class E light industrial building. And then you'll say, well, if you get that, I'll buy it. Okay. Now, the only thing that you've got to watch with that is that the planners aren't a little bit sharp and actually say, okay, yes, you can, but for no other use. So they basically take away your PD rights, which they have the ability to do. They help. Hope it helps. Hope it helps. Interesting one. Maybe worth a little bit of time pursuing. Okay. Seems they went into liquidation. That was the company. Yeah, cool. Okay. Next question. Good luck.
Okay, that was very useful. A little bit more digging, but seems like maybe it wouldn't fit the class use E. So on to the next one.